Welcome to Behavior Education at Spirit Keeper Animal Sanctuary. This is Training Tuesday for April 25th, 2023. Knowing when to reinforce your snake for a targeting behavior is a crucial component of successful training plans. So how do you know when to reinforce and when to move on to the next approximation? Judging just the right time to deliver reinforcement and judging when the snake is ready to move on to the next approximation or the next step, usually a more challenging or more complicated behavior, is part science, part intuition, and a lot of knowing your individual learner. It's going to vary depending on the species of snake or other reptile that you're working with, on the individual learner in front of you, and how they're behaving in front of you during that specific training session. It can even depend on time of day or night, season, life stage, reproductive cycle, ecdysis cycle, current health, competing motivations at the time, or general overall mood at the time of the training session, both your mood and your snake's. When a snake is performing an approximation or a step quickly and without hesitation, it's time to move on. But how far do you go next? What should the next step or approximation be? Should it be a big step or a baby step? All of this depends on your snake and their learning history with you. This is where you need to know your snake really well so that you can judge how far to stretch them in their learning each time you want them to move on. Moving on could mean increasing the duration of a behavior or increasing its complexity. It could mean asking them to wait longer for reinforcement or to change directions, go left, go right, go up, go down, turn around, to stop, or to pause at a specific location, or even with their body in a specific position. It could mean asking them to move closer to a doorway or out a doorway, into or closer to a shift box, or closer to or onto a station. Whatever your goal, you need to get to know your learner and how far you can push them each time before delivering reinforcement. You need to know when to reinforce early and when to wait. Some snakes will move in the direction of your goal behavior very quickly, and the steps along the way will be big ones. Other snakes will progress painfully slowly, and the steps along the way will be minor, small increments, just a few baby steps at a time. You may run into some regressions along the way or some frustration when you first start to stretch the snake a little past where they are comfortable and a little past that point that they've been practicing at. But this is all part of the learning process for both of you. A special note and reminder to Royal Python keepers when using food reinforcers for target training is to keep in mind that research indicates their strike performance declines as they reach adolescence. This means they may start out target training really well and continue to progress, but then at some point you hit a roadblock. Your Python Regis may not go as far as they had been previously, or they may barely engage with the target. They may strike at the target or miss their food one or more times when you offer it. This is normal, and I have noticed that they get past this stage, and as they reach adulthood, regain the target training skills and prey acquisition skills they seem to start out with as hatchlings and juveniles. Our very young royals who are just a few weeks or few months old seem to do well, and then around 1 year or 2 years old, they kind of behave like they're clueless, missing their food or staring blankly at the target as if they've never seen it before, and they act like they've never had any training sessions. But I promise, all of our adult royal pythons are doing very well with targeting and striking prey, so don't worry. Be patient with them. It seems to be a phase they progress through. I will link the paper detailing the decline in strike performance in Python Regis during what is likely the equivalent of their adolescent period in the description so you can read it for yourself. The strike performance study ended when the study subjects were 3 years old, but I promise you our adult royals are doing just fine with target training. Overall, when a snake is consistently performing a behavior and they have performed the same behavior correctly without hesitation, you can move on to the next step. The transition between steps can generate some confusion and frustration because you're now asking the snake to do something new or different, to wait longer, to move further, and to ultimately work a little bit harder and maintain more patience and impulse control than you had been having them do before. Be patient and work through this until they are performing this new step correctly without hesitation, and then go on to the next, and so on. Occasionally, you may have to back up to the previous step and reinforce successful completion of that step a few more times, and then try to move on again. Each learner will progress at their own pace and have varying abilities. It is your responsibility to know your learner and customize each session for them, supporting them in their learning by reinforcing what they know and stretching them just enough to learn and grow in their abilities. If a snake is striking at the target, abandoning the session by turning away, refusing to engage at all, or beginning the session and then simply stopping, you are likely pushing them too far too fast, and you need to reinforce earlier or reinforce a simpler behavior than the one you were initially asking for before you attempt to move on further. This is true even if they have done a more complicated behavior in the past. Work with the animal in front of you at the time and reinforce what they are capable of giving you in that moment, regardless of what they have done before. Sometimes this means you have to ask them for less, and sometimes you suddenly realize in that moment that they are ready to do more. So modify your behavior based on your snakes and remain fluid in your training. This is why it is so important to know your learner and what their individual body language and behaviors mean. Basically, if you follow the 10 laws of shaping a behavior originally put forth by Karen Pryor, you pretty much can't go wrong, and these work excellent with your snakes. So number 1 is be prepared when you start. 2 is ensure success at each step. 3 is train one criterion at a time. 4 is relax the criteria when something changes. 5 is if one door closes, find another. 6 is keep the training sessions continuous. 7 is go back to kindergarten if necessary. 8 is keep your attention on your learner. 9 is stay ahead of your learner. And 10 is quit while you're ahead. I will put the full details of each of these 10 steps in the video description so you can read them further. Everyone, thank you so much for watching and for your continued interest in snake behavior and training. Until next time, everybody, please remember to always be kind and love your animals.